call the Clewiston City Commission meeting to order. It's 5 p.m. on April 21st, 2025. I've asked Pastor Benjamin Discorsi if he would open us with a word of prayer tonight.
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and may the Lord bless every one of you. Before I pray, I'd like to share a couple of verses right quick. The Bible says, unless the Lord builds the house, those who built it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives his beloved sleep. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you in the name of Jesus, asking you your favor, O Lord. We ask you, O Lord, to see over all the commissioners and also our city mayor and all the authorities of this town. We ask you to guide them, O Lord. We ask you, O Lord, to give them wisdom to confront any situation, to solve all the issues that may come to them. And we ask you, O Lord, to guide them, not just today, but every day of their lives, and be an example to other cities, to other communities. And we also ask you, O Lord, to continue to guide all our authorities, not just in the city, the county, also the state and federal authorities. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. You don't have to hang out if you don't want to. Okay, just a note for the public, we have new laptops we're negotiating through, so if things are there's long pauses, that's just because we're calculating. Madam Clerk, if you do the roll call. Here.
Vice Mayor Heisel.
Here.
Commissioner Edmonds.
Here.
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 City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. Any additions, deletions to the agenda?
None. Mayor.
All right, any comments from the public? Public comments at this time? Seeing no movement, we will move on. Tonight we have two presentations. The first one is our Chief Deputy, Kevin Nelson, and he's going to come up and talk to us about cameras and tickets. In the school zone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'd like to introduce Lorraine Johnson from Ultimate. She'll talk to you about the cameras and how the program works. And once she completes that, I'll have a real brief thing. I'll talk to you about what we're trying to do within the county for public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Lorraine Johnson. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for your time this evening and your attention. So, okay. Just left, right. Okay. All right, just to provide you a little bit of information overall from the state of Florida. I was born and raised here, and I can tell you driving around the state as much as I do, there's a problem with speeding traffic. Everybody knows that, all right? We see it every single day. So in 2023, the state of Florida passed a law for school zone speed enforcement programs for automated systems. So what it is it's designed to be a force multiplier for law enforcement. You cannot have an officer, as much as we would love to have an officer in every school zone all day long. You just can't do that. There's just not the manpower and the ability to do that. So what we did was we actually did some studies around the state prior to the law passing, and what we found was 54% of those drivers were speeding. And then in 2023, National Highway Safety Administration did a survey, and 38% of Floridians admitted it. So they admitted to speeding. So it continues to be a problem. For the programs that we've had up and running for this year, we have issued 14,000, actually it's higher now, 641 citations. From September to October of those for last year, we saw a 50% or 45%, close to 50% decrease in the number of speeding where we had programs up and running. So in Hendry County, when they went live with their program, which was around mid-September, I believe it was, that we went live with the program in the county, there were 3,813 violations in 24 hours throughout the county. It's a lot. That comes out to be about 68,634 traveling, more than 11 miles an hour. Again, the law says you have to be going in excess of 10 miles an hour to be captured by these photo enforcement. So if the speed limit is 20 during a flashing school zone time, they have to be doing at least 31, or the cameras don't take a photo. So these are all vehicles that were going in excess of that. So this is a little bit more current. What I've done is over 3 months, which what we did was, actually this was the beginning of the last school year, because of the holiday in January and things like that, we didn't have that data, but from August, I did September, October, and November. Basically, for the programs that were up at that point in time, there was a 50% decrease in Eustis over that 3 months. In Leesburg, there was a 60%, and in Hialeah Gardens in South Florida, there was 68% over that same 3 months of police-approved citations. That's fantastic. That's what we want to see. And some of the other things, the anecdotal things that I've heard from the chiefs in these locations is that they are seeing an overall decrease of speeding around the cities. So it is having an impact on modifying driver behavior, which is the point of the program. The point is to slow people down, get them to realize where they are, pay attention. We all know there's distracted driving. It's to pay attention to their surroundings and drive in a more safe manner. So again, this is survivability for an accident. You have a 90% chance of surviving if you're hit by a vehicle that's doing 20 miles an hour or less. It goes down to 10% if it's 40 miles an hour, which is why most school zones in the state of Florida, they're either 15 or 20 miles an hour. And that's dictated by law. So again, July 1st, 2023, this law went into effect. Basically, it allows for speed enforcement in excess of 10 miles an hour, not only during the flashing light times, but the entirety of the school day. There does have to be a 30-day warning period, so the first 30 days of any program, we're only issuing warnings, which we actually did a longer than 30-day campaign in the county. And again, we do a public information campaign. We did a big press event, and I believe Chief Lewis, you were there. In December, we did a big press event when we were getting ready to go live. It was freezing that day. I do remember that. So again, here's the breakdown of the fine. $60 comes back to the municipality or county. It's a $100 fine. $12 goes to the school district. For every citation, the school district in the county gets $12. That has to be dispersed to all of the schools in the district, including any charter schools. It's based on number of students that are at the schools. $5 goes to the school crossing guard program. $20 goes to the Florida Department of Revenue, and $3 goes to FDLE. It is a civil infraction, so there's no points on anyone's license. The insurance doesn't go up or anything like that. Now, if they fail to pay, it can then turn into a uniform traffic citation, which would then impact points on their license, things like that.
Brandon, I have a quick question for you on that breakdown. So that's $60 to municipality or county, $12 to school district. That's times the 3,813 violations that you have so far in Hendry County.
Well, actually, there's, I believe, more than that, but that was in a 24-hour period. I don't know if those all turned into citations because they go through a review process, but yes, that was the number of violations captured.
Okay. That's in the 24-hour period you said?
Yep.
Across the county?
Yes.
Okay.
For the cameras that were live at that point, yes. So we were also the first company in Florida to enter and start a school zone speed program in the state of Florida. Hendry County was the first county to sign a contract in the state to move forward with this. The sheriff was out in front. Always, believing in safety. When we sat down with him, it was all about the safety of the kids, 100%. And we work with all these different municipalities as well and counties throughout the state. So we also installed flock cameras. So the county and the city, they're all over the county, aren't they? Added to the network that they currently had. I know we gave them 20 flock cameras, so those have been up and running. They were up and running well before the program, so they were able to use those, and all of the jurisdictions in the county get access to that. So this is one school zone. This is just when we did the data, right, this is before the program started. So this was just before anybody realized there were cameras, before any public information campaign or anything like that. 40% of the drivers during school hours were speeding, and this is 11 over. We didn't capture any data if they weren't going 11 over. So 40% at Clewiston High School were going 11 over. And this is an example at Up to Grove. It was 49% of the people were speeding at more than 11 over. So here are the annual citation projections. These were prior to, again, the public information campaigns and all that kind of stuff. These are just the raw numbers. It would be about 686,340. So for the whole, and that was for all of the schools in the county.
And that's running the cameras, I'm sorry, not just the hour before and the hour after. That is from
The entirety of the school day. So it's from when the lights start to flash in the morning, all the way until they stop at the end of the day. Now, it's the reduced speed during the flashing light. It's 11 over that reduced speed during the flashing light times. It's 11 over the posted speed during the entirety of the school day, and then the speed goes down again in the afternoon when the lights come on, right? So it is 11 over the specific speed limit that is assigned at the time, depending on the hour of the day, and the cameras are programmed for that.
So the projected 686,000, was that per year you're projecting?
Yes, that was annually.
Okay.
And again, that's raw data, and that doesn't take into account the public information campaign that we did. We did a big campaign down here in the county. Also, the warning period that goes on. So all of that is designed to reduce the number of violations, right? The idea is this is not a gotcha program. This is designed to get the word out, to make sure that the public is aware of the program, and to make sure that they modify their behavior. That is the whole goal, is to have 0 citations. That's where we're trying to get to. So the sheriff was hoping he wouldn't have to send out the first citation. Didn't work out that way, but that's what he was hoping. So, but again, we work really hard to make sure that we do a public information campaign, not only for the warning period. So after the summer, right, after Christmas break, we have content that we share with different agencies to allow them to put information out. So when you come back from Christmas break, it's a reminder. The cameras are going to be back on, school's back in session, just like when you come back from the summer. There's a big information campaign about school buses, right? Making sure that people pay attention to school buses being on the road and stopping for them. The same with the schools. Remember, the kids are going to be, at the crosswalks again and things like that. So we give content that can be shared throughout the year at different times.
Can you remind me, who's responsible for these public education campaigns?
So we do it. We provide the content. So we set up the press event along with the sheriff's office.
Okay.
But we have content that we share, and then you guys can post it however you want. Right, the sheriff's office is really good with the PIO, and we can work with, and we did work with the city, both cities. There were members there from the city of Clewiston as well as the city of LaBelle when we did the big press event, along with the school district. We provide information to them. There's FAQs on the county's website. You can have them to be placed on your websites as well, so that it answers frequently asked questions, things like that.
Okay.
So if there's anything like that that you guys want, we're happy to provide that. That's all part of the program.
So just to be clear, just so the public is clear, if school is not in session, holiday before, let's say 7 and after 3:30, nothing's done as far as citations or speed control.
No, absolutely not. Weekend, Friday night football games, cameras are not on. children have to be on campus primarily for educational purposes, right? So if there is summer school at a specific school and the children are there primarily for educational purposes, then potentially the cameras could be on, right, during that time period, okay? Which would be something that, as the end of the school year comes, we would work with the county and the sheriff's office to make sure we know what those times are, which schools those are, and then again, we would create content to push out so that everybody is aware that over the summer, this is summer school, these children will be here, and the cameras would be on. But typically, there's only 1 or 2 schools typically in the county that do something like that, and it's usually an abbreviated period of time.
Is the flashing light required?
It is not by statute, no.
Okay.
It does
That helps
have
a
to
lot.
be, it does have to be an officially designated school zone, okay? So it has to have the reduced speed. It also has to be, you have to be able to write that enhanced penalty. Because if an officer's writing a ticket and you're speeding through a school zone, technically it can be double the fine, right? It has to be eligible for that to meet the criteria. It can't say school entrance, okay? Because I've seen some of those, right? And the speed limit doesn't really change. It still says 55 and there's a flashing yellow light. And I've had agencies reach out to me, we want to do something there. I'm like, you can't. It has to be designated as a school zone. That's a school entrance. It is different.
So a question to piggyback off of that. Do all of our schools have flashing yellow lights next to the cameras?
They do
No.
not. They do not have to have
Okay.
flashing lights.
Right. No, I understand by state statute. So I've had a member of the public come to me concerned about, going through the school zone and having to, I guess, be mindful of the camera, be trying to figure out what time it is, what time did this, sign say? And then maybe do you have someone that might be likely going a few miles over? Yes, but primarily you have someone that's distracted, which is very concerning. Trying to figure out, are these cameras active right now, kind of thing. Ideally, yeah, we're all just going the speed limit. It's not reality,
Right.
So I would love to see, the city, the school board, somebody put up the flashing yellow lights. That way, we don't have distracted drivers on top of everything else. I feel like that would probably be the most dangerous driver.
Yes, ma'am, just to interject real quick, Kevin Nelson for the record, representing Sheriff Steve Wooden. That is the first thing that the sheriff wants to do out of the funds of this
Okay, good.
program. Is to make all the school zones have flashing lights and update and upgrade all the school zones in the county.
That would be great. Thank you.
Actually have several other cities and jurisdictions that are doing that with the funds. Like they want to improve the paving, right? The painting that says school, sometimes it gets worn off or whatever. Or add the flashing beacons, things like that. So, and those are all things that the funds can be used for
Okay.
from the program.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So this is just a little bit, these are all things that have happened, but if this is something, we can do ongoing press events, we can do joint press release, we're happy to provide any of these services. They are ongoing as long as you have the program, whatever communication plan you want, if it's ongoing things, the flyers, things like that, we're happy to engage with you and provide any assistance, information. We can run point on it. We do have a PR firm that we work with as well out of South Florida. So, we're happy to do that and get that information out in any way that we possibly can. But we will provide it where it's easily shareable on social media as well, digital media, as well as print and any other type of media that you would like. Those are all things that we do with our programs. And again, we have a huge local presence, and we've been all over the media about the programs. And this is just some of the cameras. Chief Nelson sent me this picture of the flock cameras that are up in the jurisdiction as well.
Can you just talk about those cameras?
Yeah.
Those aren't school zone
Nope,
cameras.
those are not. This is something, so when we partner with any community, the whole idea is to make sure that we're providing whatever we can to help enhance safety in the community. So it's not just about traffic safety, it's also about overall community safety. And when we talked to the sheriff's office, this was something that they wanted to help enhance community safety. So I think there's cameras all over the county, both cities, right? All of the jurisdiction, the
And you
entire
call them
jurisdiction.
flock? Like,
That's the brand name. Flock
Okay.
is the company. They're automated license plate reader cameras.
Okay.
And if a vehicle passes them, it'll capture their plate if the vehicle's stolen or if they were involved in a crime. Police can use that. That is, we do not have access to that. We just provide it.
sure, sure.
It's just something that we chose to provide as an additional, enhancement to to communities. Because again, this is all about helping make communities safer and enhance public safety.
So earlier, I think you said there was around 3,000 and some odd citations written.
So what I did was I actually pulled up, there, for the 12 schools for February, the police approved a total of 2,036 citations in the county. And in March, now keep in mind, spring break was also in March, there was 1,503 that were police approved. So that means the events came in, they went through our information, it's sent off to get the registered vehicle owner information, things like that. It comes back, we review it, we make sure everything matches, we send it to law enforcement. Law enforcement has the ultimate decision to decide whether or not a citation is issued. It is not our program, we're a partner in this, but law enforcement, and they dictate what gets sent out and what doesn't.
What is the standard, by which, like, you all decide what gets a ticket and what doesn't? Does that make sense?
First and foremost is speed, if it's going over the speed. And then we look to make sure that the picture matches the information in the citation. And if it does, color of the car, the make of the car, tag number matches, then it's issued a citation.
Yeah, okay.
So far at $60 a pop, you're just south of 200,000. How much of that money is distributed from Clewiston, LaBelle cities, and then county? Is there a formula, or how do you guys calculate that?
Yeah, so that's the part that I was gonna talk to you about.
Oh, okay.
When it comes up. Yeah.
I have a quick question. I've been following Manatee County.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see you're aware of that.
Oh, I am.
Okay.
Very
They
aware.
had the program, and then they stopped the program
Yes.
because they saw it as a money grab, or the residents saw it as a money grab. Is that correct? I mean, that's what I read in the paper.
Yeah, I will say this, the program was not rolled out the way it should have been. I can tell you that I've talked to the sheriff of Manatee County, who was not even included in the decision-making process. The first time around, he wasn't included, he wasn't asked to be part of the public information campaign. Basically, they didn't do a big public information campaign like they should have. There were a lot of things that were not done the way they should have been done for a program. When we come in, we partner with all stakeholders, right? We try to partner with everybody. We want to bring everybody together. I spoke to the school board. I went and presented because they asked me to. They had questions so that they could share that out with the parents and if they had questions. The idea is to make sure that the community is part of it as well and that they're aware of the program. That didn't, I'm not going to cast.
Well, I'm kind of glad you're saying that because
Shadows.
you guys, this program was rolled out in December, and here it is April, and we're just having a presentation. So, I mean, I know there was some help, but I can see where, if that was the issue in Manatee County, then I can see why we're having questions here. Because of the fact that Manatee County, what they did is they did away with the program because they did see it as whatever the rollout was, whatever it was concerned. They actually are looking at it, but only during the school zone, the school opening, the 1 hour before, and not throughout the whole day.
Right.
And I guess that's the biggest complaint I've heard from folks, is that, school zones are school zones, and they should be at the speed limit. Throughout the day, most kids aren't out by the road. They're on campus, not on the roadway, not a potential issue of a pedestrian hit. So to me, that's the biggest concern I have, that it's a long window that's there, and what I am hearing is what people are doing, they're not going through that school zone, they're going other ways,
If they're not doing 11 over,
Right.
they don't have to worry about it.
No, I agree.
If you're doing
I
5
agree.
over, you don't have to worry about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's 11 over, so it is,
And
it's
no,
not.
I'm all about safety.
speeding.
I'm just saying that from Manatee County, from what they've said and what we're seeing here, and the concerns I've heard from folks in the community, is they don't have a problem during the school zone, but no flashing yellow lights, that is a big concern, because they don't know when the cameras are running. So if, they have to be reminded, because like you said, everybody's trying to get to where they're going, no speeding. I agree with you. I think we should have 25-mile-an-hour speed limits in the city of Clewiston. That's my opinion. I tried to do that years ago, and it failed. So, but I think that, that when we look at these numbers, that is, I mean, about almost $200,000 in February and March countywide, right? So, I mean, I can see why people think it's gonna be a money grab. Now, it's all, looks to me like it's all going for a good purpose. Public safety is important. But then the other question I had, and Kevin, I'll ask you this question when we get to it, when you get up, is that how are our taxes gonna be reduced because of the extra income that's coming in? So that's one of the questions I've had. So I know you can't answer that question, but those are my questions, and I just wanted to bring that up because I can see where in Manatee County, I'm sure it's a much bigger county than we are, so their money coming in was much bigger, and they only had the program for 6 months.
Right, and the other piece of that is that there were just things, they are looking to do the program again.
Right.
By the way.
And can it be limited to just the school zone hours?
I mean, it can, but
I mean,
it,
limited, I guess, capacity is what they're looking
Pick up and
at?
drop off.
Yeah.
it
times.
just,
That they only operate during school zone hours is
It-
what they
it
were
can.
quoted as saying.
that can happen. So one of the other things though, and I've seen this, and it may not be true here in Hendry County, but I have noticed, especially in some schools, the reason the legislature wrote the law the way they did to encompass the entirety of the school day is, like, my son used to get out early, especially in high school, and he walked home. So, because I wasn't gonna pay for the parking permit that cost so much money, so he walked home from school. So he got out at noon, but there were a lot of kids that did get out and then would go and take a bus or something like that, so they were walking. So that kind of stuff does happen. There's also PE fields that are across the road from the actual campus, and they don't have catwalks and things like that. I've actually done studies, and agencies are looking to put programs in because the PE fields are across the road from the school campus. So when they wrote the law, they wrote it to encompass all types of school situations that happen around the state. And so that's the reason it's written the way it is. So I will say, that's the reason and it is at that higher speed. So they have to be, if the speed limit is 50, they're doing 61. So again, it's not, 5 over, 6 over, 7 over. They're doing at least 11 over, or higher. So that is one of the things. But yeah, Manatee, a lot of agencies have reached out to me. But again, we do things very differently. The way our company operates and the way that we roll out a program is very different. I will tell you this, when I made my first presentation to the county, the Clewiston city manager was present. Not a current city manager, but the city manager at the time was present. And I actually had his card and was scheduling meetings with him to come and meet with everybody. And then apparently there was a change. My emails went unanswered, my phone calls went unanswered, and then I found out like a month or two later that there was a change in leadership. So, but I did try to call City Hall and things like that just to make sure that everybody was involved. But also, I know he was talking with this, with the chief as well. So, the county we did try to bring, I do know that he was present at that meeting when I spoke, because I talked to him after the meeting specifically. So just to let you know, I was trying to make sure that everybody was informed.
I'll
So
go back through his emails. I never got them. I received his emails.
Yeah, I sent several, as
I'll
well as
check.
made multiple phone calls. So, yep, they should be there. Sometimes my emails go to spam. I will say that. That happens on occasion, depending on
All right, we've got IT.
security. Exactly, got IT, go back and look.
I told him to
Absolutely.
block everything.
Just, Lorraine, one more quick. I know just make sure, because I wrote it down really fast. $60 to the Hendry County Sheriff's Department, $12 to the school board. Am I okay? $5 that went to the crossing guards, $20,
to the State Department of Revenue,
okay, and then the $3,
FDLE.
okay. And where does this work out for you guys? Is it the rental of the cameras?
Yeah, so
Okay.
our fees come out of the $60 that comes back to the jurisdiction.
Okay, so they don't receive the full $60?
Right, well,
Count-
it's whatever. Yeah.
okay.
It works out in the initial phases, so we do a flat fixed fee, every month. And then,
And what's that, I'm sorry, for Hendry County?
it's $3,500 per camera.
Okay.
Actually, it's $34.99, I rounded up.
And there's 12 cameras that you said earlier?
There's,
Yeah, I think there's 10.
And,
there's school zones, so there's 2 cameras per schools, there's 2 cameras per school zone.
okay.
Right, so we have, I think there's 16 cameras total, I believe, because a couple of the schools have more than one school zone, I think.
Okay, all right. And that's irregardless of what tickets are issued, correct? Is that irregardless of the
Yeah,
tickets
so
that are issued?
the way that our system works, though, is there's zero cost ever to the jurisdiction. So we have cost neutrality built into our program, so if you never issue a citation, no one ever owes us a dime.
Okay.
So there will never have to be a point in time where any city or county that does business with us ever has to budget to pay us. If we never issue a citation, we take nothing.
Because if
We
everybody drives
take
the
all
speed limit, then you wouldn't issue it?
Yep,
Okay.
right, even with, and again, that's the overall goal.
Sure.
We haven't seen that happen yet, but.
And that's even if you issue fewer citations
Doesn't-
than the fee. Okay.
Yeah, that you will never, ever have to budget for funds. I know that was an issue. A
It
lot
won't
of
be red.
jurisdictions around here did red light cameras. I don't know if you guys had red light cameras years ago at one point. I think you might have.
Yeah, we
it
did,
was-
and we did away with them.
It was very different with red light cameras and the way the fee structures were set up. I know I talked to several jurisdictions that said, wait a minute, if this is like red light cameras, we lost a lot of money, and I said, it isn't structured that way. So I wouldn't be working for the company if they did something like that. So there's also zero cost termination fees. So at any point, like if the county or the sheriff's office said they didn't want the program anymore, then we would just say, okay.
Okay, any more questions?
Okay, we did choose to go the whole school day because of the, the parent pickups and all the different things going on with the schools. Some of the roadways are right on top of the schools, with the playground right there. Up to Grove is a good example. And people using that for a cut through to get around the traffic at 80 and Bridge. If you've driven over there, you see what I'm talking about. Excuse me. But if a law enforcement officer is in a school, in front of the school, and there's no school zone, and we only do the school zone cameras for that time frame, but if they're speeding anyway, it's going to be a $190 ticket. Points on their licenses if they're going 5 miles over, not 11. So anything over 5 miles an hour over the speed limit is a citation, and so this is really very liberal with the 11 miles an hour thing. So if they're going 11 miles an hour over the speed limit in a school zone, they should get a citation, But when this first came along, the sheriff saw this, and we looked at a couple of companies. We picked Ultimate because they are the ones that actually invented the thing that triggers the traffic lights when you pull up to it. So they have a long time background in this kind of technology. And when we first started going into this, we're looking at the money that's going to come into the county, and there's all kinds of different ways to look at it. You saw the graphs. All the schools are all different. What we looked at, I met with the sheriff, and I said, what do you think about if we reactivate the Emergency Services Council and get that back up and running? Chief Reese was on it with me back in years, and it kind of got defunct. We've gone through like 5 emergency management directors in the last 16 years, and it kind of lost ground there. But have that group of public safety officials look at these funds and then put out what they would like to see the funds spent for, you know, and then bring that before the commission. And I took that to the county administrator. She liked it. So I came over and talked to Chief Lewis and Chief Reese and explained that to them. You know, this will give all the county public safety an opportunity to put in requests for these monies and on an equal basis. And in another conversation with the county administrator and the county attorney, I'd asked the county attorney to go ahead and let's write up the interlocal agreement between the two cities and the county government, and let's, you know, start this process and get it going, because we're going live. And so I got on the phone with them, and Jennifer suggested that we have a commissioner from each city commission and a county commissioner sit on this emergency services council. I'm like, that's perfect. You know, we can do that. Then, you know, and then we present to the county commission, you know, what we want to spend the money on, and everybody agrees to it, you know. But the first thing in there is the sheriff wants to upgrade all the school zones, so that's what we'll be asking for. And, you know, the lighting for those we've looked at is around $80,000 just for the lighting. And then the upgrades to the pavement markings and all that additional. You asked about taxes.
Yeah.
Your road and bridge.
When I look at this, it's quite a bit of money coming in, and I'm sure for public safety that there's never enough, but I was just wondering if that's something that had been looked at
Yeah.
from the
Well,
sheriff's budget.
we did, you know, the group, we've met a few times now. We're amending the bylaws to take it down to just public safety and the commissions. You know, so there's a smaller group of about a dozen people.
Who is
But
this group?
This group is the heads of public service, law enforcement, fire, EMS, and the commissioners. And
Who's on it? Who's on it?
I don't think we have a representative on it.
not yet, no,
Oh,
no, not
you
yet.
said y'all met. I didn't know.
No,
We missed the boat.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been meeting. Everyone has a seat on it, but nobody attends it, you know, other than public safety right now. But you know, that's something we can fix. But taxes, right, okay. Yeah, for the upgrades to the school zones, that's monies you don't have to come up with from your road and bridge or your road department. You know, a new fire truck, a new ambulance, you know, things like that that you don't have to come up with out of your your general fund or
There's gonna
get
be
loans.
a budget that you guys are gonna have specifically for this
It's
money?
just going into an account.
Okay,
You know, and I think that if we come in, you know, and I've already told him, I said, this is what the sheriff wants. You know, Amy said that she wants some automatic loaders for the ambulances. Chief Reese, he's got ideas that he'd like to have some, you know, some things. Same thing with the chief over in LaBelle. And,
there's
you
not
know,
gonna be a reduction in the request for, for public safety then, basically. This is just this budget will help pay for things that aren't gonna be in the regular budget.
You
Is
can,
that what-
hopefully would keep things out of that regular
Okay,
budget, you
all
know,
right,
that
okay.
if there's funds there that you can go buy a fire truck, then you don't have to budget that, you don't have to go get a loan for it or you know, do any bonds or anything like that to buy it. So that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping that the monies will stay for public safety and, you know, because it says public safety initiative and that's pretty broad, you know, but just, you know, we're trying to do something good for public safety in Henry County and not, you know, have it, like you said, money grab. You know, where all the commissioners are trying to grab money, you know, to offset their budgets, but, you know, it's understandable to try to keep property taxes and all that
So
down.
you're looking at about close to, I mean, if you look at the average of the numbers you just gave us, I mean, it might be a little bit, it'd be about $1.2 million countywide.
Could
That
be,
would be bringing in.
could be more.
Depends on,
And-
so right now, the Clewiston High School location, right, is not, those cameras aren't on?
The middle school.
The middle school.
Yeah, the middle school, we didn't turn them on, waiting on the ordinance. They're just warning on Circle Drive. Those are just issuing warnings.
Yeah. So basically, since that school zone is in the city of Clewiston would need to enact an ordinance to allow enforcement in that zone. So that's one of the things that, you know, this presentation is to kind of educate you on that. The cameras are there. We are issuing warnings still, making sure that, you know, the public is aware, because again, it's all about safety, right? So we are sending warnings to people that are in violation of it. But to do the actual enforcement, then the city would have to draw up an ordinance.
Yeah. And we had a similar issue with Up the Grove School Zone also. We couldn't get the signs right over there, so we finally wound up having to get them to buy the signs and get them installed.
I'm still kind of not sure about the signs, and especially there's no flashing yellow lights when you're coming from north to south. And I don't think there's any from south to north either. But Lorena, you brought up a point, and I didn't think about it until you brought it up, is if we're within the city limits, but because the other roads are county roads, we didn't have to do an ordinance, right? This is the only one because it's a city road.
So I'm going to say this, and it might not be very popular. I do not have a problem with these cameras. Truly, I don't. I think that using the money towards, you know, additional public safety things that, you know, that the chief or the fire chief or the county or EMS might, you know, or in LaBelle, they might have a need, and you can help offset, you know, some of the burden on the taxpayer. I think it's great. I don't think people should be speeding through school zones. The part nobody's gonna like is, it seems to me, when this started, I found out anything at all about these cameras off of a very informed citizen's shocked Facebook post when she received what she thought was a ticket because she didn't know they were sending warnings. Anyway, it was a warning, so that was good. So it feels like you all are here today to educate us about this because you need something from us, which is an ordinance for the middle school. And that's not okay. Like, we should have had this presentation when everybody else was getting this presentation, so that when people came to us as leaders in the community, we didn't have to be like, what cameras? I don't know what you're talking about. And let me go look on the sheriff's Facebook page to see, because algorithms, you know, they change constantly. Just because somebody puts something on social media doesn't mean that the majority of the community sees it. So it's a little bit frustrating, you know. And I'm not saying that to be like, and I'm going to vote no on your ordinance. You know, I'm not trying to be like that. But that's what this feels like, is, you know, what was done, and now we need something from the Clewiston Commission, so we're going to go and talk to them about this program. It's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, this I'm going to tell you, this project here has been my most aggravating project I've ever had to do for the sheriff.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it has been. Working with three governments is not fun.
So my question during Lorraine's presentation was LaBelle, Clewiston, and County Sheriff's Department, and now I found out you guys are getting a cut of the 60. So what cut, what formula, how much have we gotten so far? Not to say, how do we determine that?
Yeah, so far, right now, it's going to take about 90 to 120 days before we see the change. Right now, we're catching up on the rental, because that started when we started the warning period, you know. And so we're catching up on the rental right now. Once we get caught up on that, and we're whittling it down, and then it'll flip over, and you'll start seeing money deposited into the fund.
Yes.
You're talking about the general fund that'll be for the Public Service Council, but you're asking about for the city. Are we going to receive anything directly?
Well, it appears that the Emergency Services Council is going to have access, and the council will decide where the money's at, or where it goes.
That they'll recommend. They don't decide. They'll recommend.
And who would decide?
The BOCC,
Right.
Okay.
the county board.
But you have a voice there.
No,
you
we
know,
don't right
and-
now. Well, we have the fire chief, but he's not a commissioner.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
need to appoint a commissioner relatively quickly, not like tonight, but
Yes, sir.
Before
That,
the
you know,
ordinance
you're probably going to
informed
want
of
to wait
the
on
meeting.
the interlocal agreement.
Well, I would say we haven't signed anything yet.
Yeah.
You haven't passed the ordinance that they're asking you to pass.
but the
So-
council's set up, and it says one of us needs to be on there, ordinance or no
Right.
ordinance, whether let's say we fail the ordinance, we still have a seat at the table.
But we can get into some of those details in the proposed interlocal agreement as to, splits or how the nitty-gritty of those details are gonna work. And I think you need to have that in place before you consider adopting this ordinance.
I think you need the agreement. I mean, we don't have one. This is the first. When I found out about these is when they called and wanted power. That's when I got the news.
Okay, so can, for now, our manager get the emails of the meetings, and then at least whoever's available can start going until we appoint someone?
Yes, sir. Currently on the Emergency Service Council, I'm the chair. Chief Reese is the vice chair. And we set that up because we're the oldest ones in the group. And, we were in it before, so we'll continue it. Right now, we're not doing anything but meeting, getting things ready. We're not making any decisions to that degree.
So then our interlocal agreement would have to give direction of who would be on the Public Service Council before the ordinance is adopted, or is that gonna be in the ordinance?
If the Public Service Council is a body that has already been created by some other authorizing
Right.
effect, then,
And I can send that to you.
yeah,
And
you could
so you can see it.
participate in that. But I
Yeah.
think you need to have a separate interlocal agreement in place governing the, what
Yes.
fund
All three
splitting or
governments.
how these are gonna operate
Yeah.
before you allow enforcement of these within the city's jurisdiction.
This is the first I've heard about the Public Service Council and that we were even on it. I mean, I've heard chatter, but I didn't know for sure.
There used to
So-
be a lot of organizations on it, FPNL was on it, the Health Department, all these other, South Florida Water Management, all these people. So what we want to do is pare it down to just public safety officials, police, fire, and EMS.
And that was through the
city and county
emergency
governments.
management. I think, is that what the bigger one was through the emergency management?
Right, and we used to meet over here
Okay.
at John Boyd,
All right.
and we'd meet over there, and
All
back
right.
and forth. And it just kind of went by the wayside after about the fourth emergency management
Okay.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we do appreciate the presentation. Any other questions
No, sir.
for now?
We
All
sure
right.
appreciate your time, and I can get with the county or the city attorney there and get that to you.
Can I get emails?
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
It needs to
I
be
need,
on
I
there.
need some email
Sure.
addresses. But yes, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time.
thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
And don't speed. Okay, hang on, I gotta relog in. I gotta turn the sleeper off. But anyway, we know we have another presentation coming on the Ventura project. Now, Dave, sorry they took all your time.
Oh, good. I'll be real quick. I'll be super quick.
Make it snappy.
No, I'm
That's
kidding,
right.
I'm kidding.
So, Dave Trudeau with Johnston Engineering, here to go over the update to Ventura Avenue that Tetra Tech is designing. We're doing the landscaping and irrigation and lighting, just for your sake, Jason. I know you're new to this. Just real quick, what you see on the screen here is the latest set of plans. Probably turn around and see them a little bit better. I'll click through. I think I'll click through. So the parking layout, we made a couple of modifications since you've seen these plans last on the WCO inside, which is on the previous screen, and on the Dean Duff end. We've added several spaces. Danny has met with property owners throughout. It started with the church, then the insurance company on the corner of Central, then the apartment owner on the near Dean Duff, and we had a developer asking questions near WCO. And so he's met with everyone on the southern border of this. On the northern side, we're in much better shape with city-owned properties and the lot on the corner. So I think we've exhausted all of the parking that we need. I think we're in much better shape in that aspect of it. A couple things I want to mention is we've got landscape and irrigation plans, which we'll get to in a minute, Lakeisha. The clock there's a clock and a dedication monument that we're gonna shift south a little bit from where it is now. I think Travis, you had mentioned that a while back about keeping that clock. That's included in our plans. We're working on finalizing the lighting right now. We were waiting until this stage to make sure everyone was on board with the layout to drop those lights in. We're gonna use the same lighting that's out at C21. Danny, you had mentioned that was a good, nice looking lighting, so we'll be consistent with that. We know there's a couple light poles out there now, which we'll incorporate, but, so if you want to click through, just to give you a quick look of all the plans. I think that was it. So oh, there you go, there's another one there. Then this is the landscaping and the irrigation. So we'll have ground cover in the, I'm gonna click to the next one that shows the much prettier picture here. Palm trees palm trees on the outside, some shade trees in the roundabout, irrigated throughout, connecting to a water main on the east side of the project. There's one more.
Is there, Dave, real quick on that roundabout, is there gonna be curbed, is it curbed?
It is a mountable curb, so like a valley gutter type curb. So when trucks, a semi truck can make that complete.
So like a C curb, like the old Miami C curb, where it's one of those deals.
Yep, yeah, like a valley. Yep.
So
yep.
yes, they can run up bushes and run them over.
Okay.
And that's gonna happen because it's happened everywhere we have those.
Yes,
So it's not a raised curb.
that's correct. So a D curb or an F curb is a raised curb. It goes up vertical 6 inches, and in the middle, I believe that's a mountable curb. So if trucks do get up on it, semi trucks or delivery trucks, they can still not wreck their tires.
We care about the plants, not the tires.
Touche.
Line in with
So-
crews.
Hopefully this keeps the semis out.
That's right. That's right. They'll avoid the roundabout. Yes, yes.
Well, let me ask you about the roundabout. I'm looking at it, and I'm not a engineer, so I'm not looking at this probably correctly, but it seems to me that it's favoring that southeast corner closer than it is the north side, where there's not, that.
Does look a
that's-
little more narrow there.
Right, narrow there, versus it being, shifting up to the north and northeast and northwest, where there's not. My concern is, I was just at the insurance company there, and when you step out from that front door, that they have there on that corner, to me, it's just like, it's gonna be right there on top of their customers. And so, I know this is the final plan, or supposedly a final plan, but it just seems to me like it's squeezing into that southwest corner versus that roundabout being able to go up.
I'll check with
To
Tetra
give
Tech.
more buffer there.
We'll get some. I'll get some dimensions to you on that. I'll go through Danny to make sure we've got.
And I'll go ahead and say this, Dave, and I think, I think you remember this, is that I voted against the plan because I felt that we had not, and I know Danny has they've told me that Danny has come to see them and maybe you were with them. But to me, these businesses that are gonna be impacted by the parking, I just think that we should have had originally a presentation so that they could all come and ask the questions that they needed to. I've only talked to one or two, so I know that Danny this is why we have this one, because especially on the West Ventura, the Ventura Avenue one. But I just think overall, I just don't know if we could have done a better job in getting a presentation and notifying them all of a meeting so that they could come and look at this. And that's why I voted against it the first time. I love the palm trees, I love the landscaping, I love the roundabout. It's just the process that we got to this point.
Yeah, and we have
Wow.
an overall exhibit, a 1-sheet exhibit that I coordinate with Lakeisha. And did you post that at all, or is that going to be posted? Or so there's an overall parking exhibit that the intent is the public can come look at it, say, hey, is there any issues? Like we've already worked through, like I said, everyone on the south side, which are the bulk of the potential issues. So
Yeah.
there has been some inputs already.
Yeah, I think the deal with this is if you sit out here and watch it during the day, especially across the street, there's vehicles everywhere. There is no guidance. You'll see one. I mean, the other day, I was coming to the office to pull in. Here comes a guy right in the middle of me. He wants to go to the fast food store. Well, he wasn't stopping. So I just went back in the road and he just went on in. But I mean, and then you look in this area, it's terrible. You got people cutting across to avoid the red light. I see it all the time. So I think this is a safety thing, and that's what FDOT is looking at as after we looked and studied this. I mean, it is. It's a very congested area, and I hope it does keep the trucks out. That's, first off, that road's not designed for those trucks. And I think that's something we, as a city, we need to start posting, weight limits.
Yeah.
Because we've been trying to tell these trucks, they'll do it for a while, like W.C. Owen is where they should go. Francisco is where they should go, and come in on Aztec. But they're using our residential roads. And that's why these culverts are gonna start caving in. And we had one, because why? We've developed more tractor trailers in that area. So these are the things, and I mean, that's what it's about, is when you turn, I agree with you, at that insurance office, when you turn, there's vehicles right there, or there's somebody walking across the road. And I mean, people are coming around pretty quick. I see that. I mean, I think it's very helpful.
It looks to be, and I know this isn't to scale, your drawing's to scale, but my pencil here isn't. It looks to be about 13 feet, 14, from the curb to the corner of the building. So yes, that's close. I mean, you might even have to have some sort of a pedestrian.
Handrail
Yeah,
on
so
the
so the
sidewalk.
curb, so coming around, there is a 6-inch curb on the outside of the road.
Right.
So there is a 6-inch step-up curb, an F curb going up to the sidewalk. So there'll be a step down there. So it's not all the valley gutter or the
Right.
Miami
Okay.
curb, as you mentioned. So it'll prevent a little bit of cars coming up onto the sidewalk. So to Danny's point, this is what you have now, or what we have now on Ventura, parking spaces, half in the right of way, half out. They're all over the place. I mean, every time I come to a meeting or come to visit Danny or Lynn, and it's just chaos. So this is a safety design as well, and it'll get back to what you see typically. Right now, it's
And what's the
very
number of
atypical.
allotted parking spaces that this has?
So this is it depends how you count them.
Right.
So we're if you count all of them, inside and outside the right of way, this is a reduction. If you count them all that are just in the right of way now versus before and after, it's a similar number. It's around, I think it's around 70, 75. But on the exhibit that I'll circulate out, it shows that. Okay, there you go. So it'll show exactly where these spots exist today versus proposed.
Trying to create a downtown corridor.
Right.
We don't have one. And I think this is it. And then we can tie these side streets when people come to visit. I mean, you're gonna give outdoor seating to a lot of these restaurants, so it'll be unique. But again, we gotta have that, and this is a start. We don't want people driving 60 miles an hour through here. You drive 15, we'll post the speed. I
It's
mean,
gonna slow you down, because it's,
Yeah.
I mean, the lanes are 10 feet, which, that's gonna be difficult for you guys to get a fire truck. I mean, if someone's walking down the street, which they do, because the sidewalk's right there, but people choose to walk in the street, you won't be able to pass them. You'll have to wait till they either move or, I mean, 10 feet is tight, and
Or hit that siren.
if you get the median, I know the median's there for landscaping and beautification. But a 10-foot lane is tight. So I mean, I just saying I necessarily would vote no because of that, but I think we should consider, widening or making the curb, the median curb, a little smaller, perhaps. I mean, the parking spaces are 12 and the lane's 10. Well, there's some parking spaces 10, which, that's very tight also.
You're
So-
talking about from WCO and onto Ventura, or are you talking about another area and I'm missing it?
Yes, that, and Dean Duff.
Yeah, our goal today is, well, Tetra Tech needs approval from the commissioners to keep going. And once that happens, they need to submit these plans back to FDOT for their final review. So that's the next kind of step in this
We can move
process.
forward, right?
What's that?
So we can move forward.
So we can move forward, that's right. So you don't have to, we don't have to have approval tonight, that's not what I'm asking for. It's if you want to get any comments to Danny, and then he can trickle them down, and we'll make sure those are addressed before we go to FDOT. We don't want to have to say, well, yeah, we made a couple more changes, here you go, and have them do it again. So we
Right.
want to step through the right hoops first.
For me, the issue of the roundabout and the impact it might have on pedestrians right there, so close to the road. Jimmy's brought up the issue of the 10-foot lane. I remember we had to go back and take out medians on the west end of Ventura from WCO into the hospital. It was a water management district project that was approved, but then our fire trucks couldn't get through there to make
Okay.
the turns. And so I think that's a valid point to bring up here. You know, that's a concern. Because I wouldn't want to, those two issues to me, the curbing on the roundabout area and the proximity to the south side businesses. And now with the issue of the fire safety and ambulance as well. I mean, I don't know how big the ambulances are, but I remember specifically on this side, even though it was an approved project by the Water Management District,
Okay.
because the fire trucks could not make the turn, they had to modify that project after it was done. And so
Okay. We'll,
that's a very good concern.
Travis, I'll get your biggest truck, or your one that's coming, and then we'll do an auto turn on this to make sure that. Yeah, we'll run, I know it's auto turn in the cab, but we'll make sure that the new biggest truck coming can do all that. But
I
hear-
like this project.
Okay,
I think, you know, anything like this, landscaping and changes like that, you know, ours is definitely an enhancement. And, you know, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart was able to bring us some money for this project. And so I just want to make sure we get it right.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the last thing we want to do is build something and then have to modify it quickly thereafter, so. Okay.
Okay, so you need a consensus, or do we need to vote, Dylan, to go to?
Presentation.
It was
Just
just
presentation.
Yeah, I think it's just if any comments, if you take a couple days, get with Danny. If you have any comments, I wrote down what we just talked about tonight, so we'll circle back on those. But anything else comes up, get with Danny, and he'll let me know.
Okay, so you'll be back again before you go to FDOT?
Well, you give me the changes, and then I'll get with David, and then they'll get with Tetra Tech, and we'll go from there. And then you can present again.
So does anyone want him to come back to us first? Because once it leaves here, it's not coming back until FDOT says, here's the project, no more changes. So I just want to make sure, as the council, we're,
I mean, I can do a brief, just with the changes we talked about. I mean, it wasn't too long tonight either, but just say, hey,
Also add I think we need to do a presentation to the property owners.
notice to
Leave it
come.
open for the property
You
owners
know, have the
to
boards
come
up
and
here that
visit.
they can drop by City Hall at their convenience and put their notes on there, or give the information to the clerk or to the manager, of course. Just to have the boards up so that the business owners can drop by and look at it and see what impact it's gonna have on their businesses.
I guess we just need to notify them.
Right.
In writing? Do we notify them in writing, or?
I went and visited. Didn't have any issues, but
But that was
I can
several
do
months,
something.
you went several months ago, so I don't know how this, I don't know if any of them have seen this. I mean,
Currently, flashing on. And then if they.
but they're not, but I don't believe they know that it's there. That's,
We can put a
okay.
announcement on the social media outlet.
How many businesses is it that this is gonna affect?
Probably 6 or
Uh,
7, something
yeah.
like that.
Some on the corner, and
And all
it
the way
affected the
down,
church, which they're good, because we gonna modify some stuff for them.
But
And
from
the
Ventura to Dean Duff, any
apartments-
other businesses there?
Couple on the side. Yeah.
And there might not be anybody show up, you know? I'm just,
So you want us to put it on the social media outlets to inform them that it is on the television screens out in City Hall? And if they have any suggestions or comments, to leave it in the clerk's office, and they will be transferred to David, CC by, with Danny being CC'd?
Just have them come see me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have 'em do
Thought
it.
you were going on vacation, huh, Danny?
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see if any of them come, you know, to share their concerns, if any.
All right, we will move forward. We have a consent agenda. I'd like to pull item 7. There's no other items. Motion to approve.
So moved.
So move, second without the number 7.
Okay, motion by Highslope, second by Gardner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 7 is, I just had a couple of questions. Is this, this is for the urban planner of record. Is this for the comp plan update? Well, Travis, you want to come up, or?
While he's coming up, I'm stuck.
Oh, we're stuck over here, JD.
Commissioners, Travis Reeves, Community Development Fire. This is the actual replace Jim LaRue, who retired. His last day was several months ago with us. He helped us with the annexation, so that was the last thing he did before he retired. So I think we had over 20 years service from him. So this is a replacement for him. So what we're calling it now, we kind of look back to how Jim's agreement we had with him. He really just worked on a as-needed basis. And that was difficult to find a planning firm that didn't want retainage or want a long agreement or contract. So we talked to Regional Planning Council. We came up with a couple of names. Mr. Relou was nice enough to give us a couple of recommendations. We went out to them and talked to them, and we found someone that, after interviewing about 4 of these individuals, that we thought was a good fit for the city. And that's what you have here. So to answer your question about the comprehensive plan, we are, when we do finally select someone or put them on record as our planner, we're going to apply for a technical assistance grant up to $75,000 to do that. And that's about the going rate that we shopped around. So that's what we're seeing that's out there. So it kind of ties it together. We're calling it super staffing, meaning we're still handling the day-to-day, Tara will be handling the day-to-day zoning questions and small requests. But anything larger than that will go to this person on either our fee schedule that we already have in place, and that's how Jim LaRue was working with the city, or a per-hour basis. So it looks like a good agreement, and we support it.
Okay, thank you.
Travis, I have some questions on this. This LandSmart, I just was looking it up. Are they mostly, you say urban planner, are they mostly for cities versus rural counties like us, rural cities?
They're from the area. Tom's actually worked for Collier and a couple other agencies. So he's used to working in kind of rural areas and some urban areas. He looked over our comprehensive plan, looked over our zoning regulations, and we had a face-to-face, and I felt pretty confident he could understand the kind of community we are. A little bit laid back, rural, agricultural. I think he'll be a good fit, and I think we should give him a try.
Did we get his references from others? I know you said the Regional Planning Council gave y'all some names, but did you see other cities that he's worked with? Have you looked, did he supply us with references?
I didn't talk to his references. I did look at them. It looked pretty substantial from what he had. Regional Planning Council was aware of, Margaret was aware of him. Didn't have anything negative to say. So with the agreement, it's kind of use them as we need. So that's one of the few agencies that would do that. So I thought let's give it a try. Let's see if we like this agreement. If not, we can certainly go and look for someone else.
So Dylan, have you reviewed it? I mean, is it, if it's for some reason we have one project and we're not happy with the process of it, that we can terminate it?
I'm satisfied with this agreement, yes.
Yeah, it's as needed. So if we don't like the work and we don't like the product, we just simply just don't use them again. And I'll
We
be
don't
back
need
before
it?
you shopping again.
Okay, any further questions? Motion to approve item 7 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Highslope. Okay, not hearing a second.
Oh, a second.
Okay,
I'll
second
second
by
that motion.
Williams, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Okay, hang on. Okay, we have several public hearings. Item number 9 on the agenda is the second reading of ordinance 2025-02. It's the amusement entertainment ordinance that we have made changes to. It was passed on the first reading. I'll read it by title. The ordinance 2025-02, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Clewiston Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Amusement and Entertainment, amending Section 10-45, Application, Prerequisite, amending Section 10-46, Same Fee, Purpose of Fee, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict, severability, providing for an effective date. We'll declare this public hearing open. If anyone in the audience would like to speak, you're more than welcome to come up to the podium and state your name and address. Seeing no movement, any questions or comments by the commission?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll declare the public hearing closed and call.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2025-02 on second reading.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Gardner, second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10 on the agenda is a public hearing, ordinance 2025-03 on the second reading, approving the Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 54, creating Article number 1, sexual offender residency requirements. This is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Clewiston Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 54 offenses, creating Article 1 sexual offender residency requirements, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict, severability, providing for an effective date. I will open the public hearing if anyone would like to come up and speak. Seeing no one, anyone from the commission have any questions or comments?
I have just one quick question. Is this as strong as we can be? Like, this is as strong as we can be?
That's my understanding.
Okay, perfect. That's it. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-03 on the second reading.
Second?
Motion by Gardner, second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 on the agenda is ordinance 2025-04 on a second reading, approving and amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, vacation rentals. By title, this ordinance is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 22, businesses, creating Article 8, vacation rentals, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict, severability, providing for an effective date. The public hearing is open for anyone, if you would like to come up. Seeing none, anyone from the commission? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Gardner,
Second.
second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12 on the agenda is the consideration of ordinance 2025-05. This is the first reading in the Clewiston Code of Ordinance in Chapter 10. By title, ordinance 2025-05 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Clewiston Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 5 districts and district regulations, Division 13, the CPID Commerce Park Industrial District, deleting Section 110-494 in its entirety, amending Section 110-495 to add additional permitted uses, and amending Section 110-498, increasing the allowed building height, amending Section 110-499, clarifying development review requirements, deleting Section 110-500 in its entirety, providing for an inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict severability, providing for an effective date. Public hearing is open. If anyone has any questions or comments from the public, this is basically for the Commerce Park to increase the height regulation. Seeing none, any comments from the commission?
But we made changes, I do have questions for Travis. We made changes to what's allowed out there. Can you just kind of go over that a little bit? I mean, I see some of them probably weren't gonna come there anyway. I mean,
Correct,
book binding is probably not gonna be.
The ordinance you originally adopted, we had a different idea what that park might look like, and of course, everybody knows about the economy, how it changed. So what we were hearing from a lot of developers and landowners out there is, one, when they looked at the ordinance, it kind of scares off some potential developers. They see the first thing they see is the land acquisition, because the property was owned by the city, and then we were selling it, so we really were wanting to put, pick and choose who we wanted out there. So as the lots are all sold now and they belong to private individuals, they've contacted us and said, could you help us with the ordinance to make it a little more palatable for developers? First thing we started with was the land acquisition. Let's take that off. If we develop another park, and I don't know if you have the taste for that, to develop a new park, if you do, we can always add that in with the enabling ordinance. We wouldn't necessarily need it in this particular spot. So in looking at it further, almost everything went as a conditional use out there. We'd bring it back to go to the Planning and Zoning Board for a recommendation. It would come to you for approval. And we get a lot of questions at Planning and Zoning about a development, and it just seems to stop. I bring the manager in, we talk about it, we talk with utilities, and then it really just, they would rather go with a site that was not, that they had to rely on authorization from two different political boards, meaning the Planning and Zoning Board and then the City Commission. So we moved a lot of those conditional uses to uses by right. So we thought that wouldn't be a problem. But we did keep the one conditional use, which is the repair of automotive, agricultural, and maintenance equipment, because we put a lot of time in talking about that, and the commission decided that if we're going to have those kind of repairs done out there, they ought to be inside and screened. And no one's really complained about that. They thought that was fine. So that's where we're at. In the 75 feet, you're correct, Mayor, that we have a ladder truck now that's going to be a 78-foot. We originally had 70, which exceeded our limits anyway, but if we're making changes to the ordinance, 75 is fine with us. So no one's asked for that, but we thought we would go ahead and clean that up.
So going back to the use here on all repairs and maintenance activities shall occur within the building?
Inside the building, that's
Okay.
correct.
And
That's
then
how.
any equipment that is stored on site while waiting for repairs or for pickup shall be stored on a stabilized hard surface, free of vegetation, visually screened from all streets and adjacent properties.
And we've actually had one of the 5-acre sites out there currently looking at that now. It's a equipment rental, industrial rental spot, and they wanted to do some repairs. Now, they wouldn't be a conditional use because as me and the manager looked at it, they're not open to the public. That's simply the repair of their own equipment. If they do it inside the building, we told them that was fine. That would, if this ordinance is approved, then they would be able to go forward without a conditional use. But yes, all their equipment that was for rental could be stored on an improved area. It could be a gravel area, but it'd have to be improved.
But if you have if you have something out there for rental, then they have to be drivable, right? They have to have a
Correct,
tag.
yes, and you could
they
not
can't-
bring in, someone else
Okay.
could not bring in something to get repaired. It had to be we made it very clear to them, it had to be their equipment they were repairing. Anything other than that is a conditional use, and they would have to go through the process of conditional use, present it to your planning and zoning board, then bring it before you for final approval.
You answered my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
This is just a first reading?
Yes.
Right? Okay, nope, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments? We'll declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2025-05, the first reading.
Second.
Okay, motion by Highslope, second by Gardner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13 is ordinance number 2025-06. It is a first reading of the Clewiston Code of Ordinance on building height. The ordinance by title is ordinance 2025-06, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Clewiston Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 110 zoning, Article 5, districts and districts regulations, Division 14, US 27 Commercial Corridor District, amending Section 110-504 Development Standards to increase the allowable building height, providing for an inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict severability, providing for an effective date. Public hearing is now open. Anyone from the public may come up and make a comment. Seeing none, any comments from the commission?
Again, our fire truck, our fire department feels confident that they can handle this,
Yes,
just for
Commissioner.
the record,
Yep,
okay.
yep. And basically what this does, it still leaves a special exception in place
Mm-hmm.
in this zoning district. So we're recommending move from 55 to 65, because originally we wanted to keep it down until we had a ladder truck,
Mm-hmm.
but it's on order. We do have one potential building that wants to go to 65 feet, but we don't want to put them through a special exception process, and we don't have to. But we do recommend anything over 65 feet come back to the board for approval. And we
But the
really
ladder
want-
truck is, excuse me, on order.
On order, correct.
So if we were to have an issue,
Yeah, our truck should be here before any completion of any building of this size.
okay.
So while we're doing the cleanup, we thought we'd do it at the same time.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
and
They don't have a
stairs.
sprinkler system in it.
And the
Okay.
75-foot is key, because anything over 75 foot, you really want to stay away from that for our infrastructure, because that's high rise. We have different NFPA regulations. The water supply would have to get larger. Not to say the developer wouldn't have to pay for it, but it could put a larger burden on our utility. So not saying we wouldn't want them, but that would be up for this board to decide, A, aesthetically, do you want it, and B, do you want to have that big upgrade to your water system?
Thank you, Travis.
Okay, any further questions? I'll declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Edmund, second by Gardner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 14 is ordinance number 2025-07 on the first reading, approving and amending Chapter 74, creating utility liens. I will read that by title. Ordinance number 2025-07, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Clewiston Code of Ordinance, amending Chapter 74 Utilities, creating Article 7 Utility Liens, providing for inclusions in the Code of Ordinance, conflict severability, providing for an effective date. We'll declare the public hearing open, and if anyone would like to speak from the audience, you're more than welcome. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I do. Lynn, I looked up this code that you have in here. And I guess I'm a little confused. And I just want to make sure that I'm not reading something incorrectly on here. The code itself, I'm sure it's been looked at, it says that we can't refuse or discontinue services for non-payment of service charges by a former occupant of a rental unit. That's prohibited. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that the unpaid service charges of former occupant not to be the basis for a lien against a rental property.
Correct.
Okay, so this is going to the person who owes us the money on their utility bill, not against, I'm talking about a rental property.
So, sorry. A lien on real estate can only be imposed for an owner's debt. If it's a delinquent account from a tenant, you can't attach a lien to the property. You have to go after them for personal judgment, or really the preferred way is just to have enough of a deposit, a security deposit, so that we can just.
I mean, so I guess what we could go against them like on their credit bureau report. It can show up a lien and we can send it out, but if it does, we report it to a credit bureau. But I was just trying to make sure that I understood this correctly, that we can't lien the real estate property on a rental,
Correct.
correct?
For a rental, for
Or actions taken
tenants.
by the tenant. If
For a
the-
tenant's
correct,
delinquency.
okay.
But if it's the property owner, even if it's a rental property, if the account is in the owner's name and they are delinquent, then we can attach it to the
But it has to be
property.
in the owner's name, even if it's a rental property, it has to be in the owner's name.
Correct.
Okay.
No, I'm glad you asked that because
I'm just,
It's
I
a
was
little,
just thinking,
yeah.
I
it
just
is
wanted
a
to
little
make sure
confusing.
that we weren't gonna try to hold up somebody moving into a house or an apartment on a rental property because the previous tenant didn't pay
Mm-hmm.
their utility bill.
It's prohibited under state law.
Okay,
Can't do it.
that's what I read, and that's why I wanted to make sure, okay.
Our agreement with our accounts, with our customers says that if you are delinquent and you move to another property, that amount can follow you to your new account. So we can collect it that way too. If they open another account somewhere else in the city, we can come after them for that.
So it goes against the delinquent person, not
Correct.
The owner of
That's
the
the
it.
owner of the
Yeah.
property or the next tenant to come in, okay.
Right.
All right, and I just,
Lynn, I have a question too.
I just
Go
wanted to
ahead.
point out that this still has some old information on here, on this ordinance, on page, I didn't catch it till right now, page 3. I know this is the first reading, right? So we're okay.
Oh, on the commission?
Yeah. Just the naming of the individuals on the commission, so that's on page 3, okay?
Okay. All right.
That would be
Oh,
corrected
yes.
for the second one.
With our new AI meters, and can't we almost just about eliminate non-payment if we follow the rules and we do collect a $200 deposit? We can turn them off now if they're 1 day late, right? So 1 day of electricity might be $15. I mean, what are we doing now, or what's our policy as far as cutoffs?
So we give a 5-day grace period, and then after 8:30, we push the button, and whoever's late.
So even in 5 days, you're not gonna use $200 of water and electric?
The catch is sometimes if a tenant leaves and there was a water leak or something, which the AMI
We
meters
know
are
now.
better for that too. Because now we put out door hangers. If we detect a leak, continuous flow, Debbie will send SETI out and we'll put a door hanger on there and say, hey, you might want to investigate this. You've got a high flow. But with tenants, it can be different. Sometimes there can be a more owed when they leave than we can cover in the security deposit for something like that. But that's kind of an unusual case.
And then my other question was, what's your, and you may not know this off the top of your head, but how much are we losing in uncollectibles, just residential, water, sewer, water, electric? When it'd be sewer too? Just a guess, what do you think? If not, come back next month and let us know.
It shouldn't change too much in a month, but
Yeah.
I'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Highslope, second by Williams. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is the last ordinance. Thank you, Lord. This is ordinance 2025-08 on a first reading, shopping cart regulations. Found the page here. Okay, I don't see the title page. Okay, hang on just a minute. We got new things here. Read it from the other.
That one, until we get a heading, the next, I'll talk with the police chief and I have to talk about that, unless he has a
Okay.
heading.
Yeah, I don't think this is a pressing ordinance.
We'll
The
pull it.
all the paperwork's not in here, so.
I'll motion that we pull item number 17, or I'm sorry, item number 16, resolution number 2025-7.
15 shopping
15.
carts.
Oh, sorry. I'll motion that we pull item number 15, ordinance number 2025-08 till May.
May meeting, okay. A motion to table and put it on the May agenda.
Second that.
Second by Williams, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll reconsider that at the May meeting.
Mayor, it is an issue in our community. We do have quite a few of them, and it does take staff. Pretty much, there's certain areas, there'll be 10 carts, and staff is picking it up. So we need a little bit of bite, so we can control this situation throughout our community. It is in place now. I mean, if somebody walks off the property, it is stolen property. So they can be arrested. But I think it's excuse me, a lot of people that's maybe without vehicles. Maybe we can get the stores to work something out with these folks. But again, there's several areas, they leave these and then staff has to go pick them up.
Well,
So I
and
don't-
people
I
are
don't-
leaving them on empty lots as
Yep,
well. They're
yep.
just
They're everywhere.
dumping them, yeah.
Well, we'll nail it down next month, and then we'll be able to impose a fine on,
But who are you gonna fine? The store owner? I mean,
no, the people, if the way it reads is if they leave it on their property. If I buy groceries and take it to my house and leave it, which I'm not gonna do that if I stole it. So
Yeah,
we might
somebody
run
else-
into some problems. So yes, it's gonna be difficult still to catch them, but at least we have some teeth if we do catch them.
They're walking down the street with a shopping cart, from what I'm reading here, they're in violation.
Right.
Because they're not supposed to remove them from the properties, of the retail property.
What's the
would the
deal now,
police
Tom, if
stop
you
them?
see someone?
Sounds like it.
The current city ordinance, I apologize, Tom Lewis, Chief of Police. The current city ordinance really conflicts with state law as far as what theft is. To commit the crime of theft, it has to be without the owner's permission, first off, and then they have to be willing to prosecute you. And in all reality, a lot of these stores are allowing their folks to walk off with the cart and take it home with the pinky promise that they're going to bring it back. And the reality is they don't. And a lot of these, like Green Tree Apartments and other places, just allow you to leave it there on the lawn, and there's no consequences. There's no teeth for us to try to at least have Green Tree Apartments enforce that on their residents, right? They'll start to police their own if we have some way of fining them. And so that the issue with arresting somebody for pushing a shopping cart down the street, that's not going to happen, right? So those city ordinances are definitely just not, they're in conflict with state law, so they're unenforceable. This would at least give us the ability to fine them civilly and actually create an incentive for you to actually take the cart back.
Okay, well, we'll get it on here next month, okay. Okay, item 16 on the agenda is resolution 2025-17 approving an application to the Florida Department of Commerce for the CDBG program. By title, it says, "This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston authorizing submission of an application to the Florida Department of Commerce Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program 2024-2025, authorizing appropriate city officials to execute the agreement, providing for severability, conflict, and an effective date." Glad to see this comes back, but I know you have special, where'd Lynn go? She already left.
No, she's right there.
Oh, there you are. You have a purpose for this grant.
Yep. Let's see. Development of a comprehensive utility master plan and reverse osmosis water treatment plant. Capacity evaluation.
This isn't to refurbish houses this time, but it's to get the infrastructure to the houses and improve that. So I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Hoslow and Gardner with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2025-20 approving the amended legal services agreement. City of Clewiston. Let's see, let me get over. Okay, this by title is a resolution of the City of Clewiston, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for legal services for the City of Clewiston, Florida, with Davis and Associates, PA, authorizing the appropriate city officials to execute the agreement, providing for severability, conflict, and an effective date.
Happy to answer any questions anyone has. Positive news for me. I have been invited to become a partner with a new group of attorneys who practice exclusively local government law. I have been working with these individuals for about 2 years now in an of-counsel capacity while maintaining my own private law practice. And now we are anticipating merging our practices together into a new partnership and group. They're great people. I really enjoy working with them. I'm excited for the opportunity. Clewiston is by far my most important client. I very much enjoy representing you, and I would like to continue to do so under this new entity. The agreement itself is not changing at all. All the provisions are the exact same as it was before, the only difference being swapping out the name of my association to the new one.
So we'd be bringing in a firm that you work for as opposed to having private counsel from you alone.
Correct.
When we would have to renew our agreement with you once we entered into that because we're not under your new law firm.
I didn't understand this. Sorry.
I'm just curious if we'll walk away from Dylan Brandenburg, private attorney, and we'll enter into an agreement with your new law firm.
Yes, sir.
Right, so that we'll cancel out your contract we have now.
Correct.
And go into a renewal. When we do that, would that give the commission an opportunity to seek outside counsel from other law firms as well? Or are we still binded to you?
So the answer to your question is the commission chooses its counsel at any point in time. This doesn't bind you. You're not stuck with us if you execute into this.
Right.
If at any point in the future you decide you want to make a change, you are absolutely free to do so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that you're doing a bad job. I'm just asking, being that you're joining the firm and not private, maybe we felt like we're getting more bang for our buck privately. Maybe we'll get more bang for our buck with you, with the firm. But just, while we're going into a renewal and canceling out, if it would be wise to seek out if you guys are interested in doing so, get another private attorney as opposed to, a firm. I don't know how they feel about that. I just wanted to ask. Sure.
I, at the very least, would like to meet your team.
Okay.
I think that, is that an unusual request?
Not at all. I'm sure they'd be happy to attend a meeting if you'd like them to.
I'm just saying, this is the first time this has happened this way, so I think it is unusual.
Okay, well,
that it
good.
happens this way. But I can count on one hand the attorneys that we've dealt with here at the city, so, I agree. I think that, is this the company that was doing the magistrate work for us at one time? The name sounds familiar, so I'm just trying to.
So one of the attorneys, Keith Davis, was Clewiston's magistrate for a number of years.
So he's no longer a magistrate.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Dylan, at this point, I think that we should look at other firms. I think that, in my opinion, I can count on one hand the number of attorneys we've had. Some have been with firms, some have not been with firms. We brought your dad on, he was on his own, his experience spoke for itself. So I think it would be wise for us to look at other firms. And I'm just gonna state an opinion that I have gathered over the last several years, and even before the last several years, is that we've always had attorneys from Palm Beach County or Martin County, and I really think we're in the 20th Circuit. I think we need to look at some attorneys and compare to Davis and to what Dylan offers from Southwest Florida. And to my knowledge, we've never done that. And so I just think this is a perfect opportunity for us to make sure that if we want to stay with Davis and Dylan, then that's fine. But I think we have this opportunity here, I think, and I think I would request that we would at least consider some firms from the West Coast, because we're in the 20th Circuit Court.
Right, we are in that
Yeah.
district.
So I don't think it's mattered in the past. I just, for some reason, maybe because it's home turf, so to speak, I just think we should look at it. I don't know, Danny, that would make a difference, but Lakeisha, I'm just putting it out there because.
Well, we could just do a regular RFQ. But, Dylan can go to a month-to-month, or I haven't read your contract, so I can't say exactly what's in there right now. We can review that and then just do an RFQ, and hope your firm applies also, and we'll look at see who
others.
apply. We'll see who's interested. A lot of people aren't interested in coming to Clewiston, but
Right.
haven't done this in a while. Not even sure. I wasn't on the commission when your dad came on board up, so I'm not real sure if an RFQ was done then or not.
No.
I don't think it was. So, yeah, and it's good, it's good to go out and see what's out there.
Okay.
Again, I'm not dissatisfied either, but.
Right, I'm not knocking you at all. I'm just spitballing for the
Fair
city's
enough.
sake.
When Dylan, I spoke with him at some point during, I guess that would have been March, maybe early April, I don't know. I told Dylan I think that the idea of having a firm is great. We have one attorney, and he's done a great job, but the possibility of having several people to represent the city, and, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses,
Well, I'm not opposed to a firm
I
at all.
think it's a great
yeah.
concept anyway.
Well, nothing would change other than you have access to another 3 individuals, more resources. But if
And we've had firms and we've had single, mostly just single because of John Yon, Jack Rafter, Mr. Brandberg, Dylan, and then the firm was a firm over in West Palm. I don't have a problem with the firm, but I think we need to go, I think your idea of an RFQ is probably, I don't know if Lakeisha, I'm sure, can help us with that, but I'd like to send it out to both coasts, you know.
We can do a request of interest letter, for attorneys.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, my mic is not on. We can do a request of interest, letters. We can send it out, put it in the paper, put it on the website for both coasts where attorneys can, send in their letter of interest. We can have it out for a certain amount of time. If it's 2 weeks, then after the 2 weeks, you all can, meet with the attorneys who have applied on a special meeting in the morning, and they can come and present themselves. And once you all listen, you can narrow it down. We can have it on we're in April, the May, and you can decide. And then at your June meeting, you can say yay, nay, whether it's Davis and Associates or anyone else you decide. So that's the timeline we can follow to make sure that it is done in a quick manner, if that's what you all chooses.
Is that the consensus of everyone? Okay, so we'll do an RFI. Go fishing and see what's out there. So for now, we'll just, I'm under your old contract and you're with a new firm, so can't ask another attorney in the room. So I'm guessing we can just go by a month to month.
Well, unless the prior agreement would remain in effect unless you chose to do otherwise.
Well, then it would if we don't pass this resolution, so I haven't had a motion or a second, so I'm gonna assume it's gonna die for a lack of a motion. So at this point, we'll just maintain our current agreement with you. Keisha, you'll get us going on an RFI?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, next, we have a last resolution is item 18, resolution 2025-21, approving the ICE Federal Memorandum of Agreement. Okay, by title 2025-21, it's a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, authorizing the Chief of Police to enter into an interlocal agreement between the City Police Department and the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency to facilitate information sharing and coordination within the scope of federal immigration enforcement and public safety initiatives, providing for severability, conflict, and an effective date.
Like, Tom, I guess this is something that's not gonna be a problem for the department.
No.
Okay, all right.
We're not going to be.
This isn't something where we're going to be actively pursuing, immigrants that have, had some type of visa issue. This memorandum is one required by the state. The governor actually enacted a law that says we'll cooperate with ICE, and of course we would have anyway. But this memorandum of understanding will actually give us access to some training to make sure that when we are called upon to help them, that our folks know what they're doing.
Move that we approve resolution number 2025-21.
Second.
Motion by Gardner, second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, we're at city staff comments. City manager?
Well, I got a text from Culver's today. They're on track. And I guess you know everything. Marshall's grand opening's coming, so it's good news. And I'm going on vacation.
All right, so you think. Don't
Yeah.
take your phone with you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I'll
did-
lose it.
Did Culver's give you a time frame? I'm sorry?
No, no, they're just on track.
On track,
Yep.
okay. Right, and you said Marshall's, and that's on Thursday, the
Yep.
opening?
Yep.
Okay.
But you all received an invitation to the opening at Cent today.
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Shopping starts early.
Ooh. Don't stand in front of the door when it opens.
Nope.
Okay, but no, that's exciting. I'm glad it's
Yeah,
finally
I
happening.
mean, everybody's excited.
Okay, comments by the city attorney?
Thanks, Mayor. I have a couple tonight, actually. So I wanted to give an update about the city's comp plan generally. I think Travis has already done a very solid job of addressing that. Tonight, you approved the land planning agreement, which will give us access to a planner, which will be a big part of updating our comp plan. A part of that is applying for a grant, which if we receive the money, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll have to expend the funds ourselves to do that. The second item I wanted to provide or address is parcels of land between W.C. Owen and Dean Duff along US 27. Those parcels, when we rezoned US 27, were not included in the US 27 rezoning. And the reason is because they had a different future land use designation of downtown commercial corridor. You don't currently have any land development regulations associated with the downtown commercial corridor. So I'm just looking for a commission direction. I guess one recommendation would be to simply develop new land development regulations for that area. It'd be the same thing like we did with US 27. You could actually use that as a base and take that for the new regulations. Otherwise, if you wanted those parcels included in the US 27 district, you would have to first change the future land use designation and then rezone them into US 27. So right now, the parcels are just kind of hanging there. I don't know if I wanted to bring it up as a discussion item, make sure that it wasn't sort of left behind. If there's any direction from the commission either way on those parcels and what we want to do moving forward. It doesn't have to be addressed right now at this meeting. It could certainly, if the comment is just maybe we set up a workshop, or if there is a specific direction you wanted to head, happy to take that into consideration.
In my opinion, the Main Street should be cohesive. It should be the Main Street from city limit sign to where we designated, I think it was Lopez, I think is where it was. Is that correct, Travis? Main Street was, or Olympia, Lopez, I think is where it's at. Lopez. To have a cohesive look on Highway 27. I mean, from Dean Duff to WCO, and that's exempted out of the Main Street corridor. And it's for future downtown development that goes from what I remember looking at, from Highway 27 all the way to Alvarez. So we're taking residential properties that are needed for residential, in my opinion, and putting them under a business development code, from what I remember. Travis, you might make it more commercial than residential.
There is that gap there. We anticipated the Civic Park going from WCO to Dean Duff all the way down to Alvarez would be a downtown district, something that had a little bit different feel. And you saw a little bit of it tonight when the manager had and David with the little circle and the roundabout. So we did kind of purposely, or the board did kind of purposely leave that out, thinking we were going to move quickly into the downtown district. But if you remember, it was so difficult trying to get the 27 corridor zoning, because it was years. I think 2015 we started that. So we got through that, and it's working well now. I think we'll probably eventually come back with some changes to that. So my recommendation would be to start doing some outreach for those 8 blocks. You have 8 blocks, including the one we're sitting in here, that's in a downtown district. And you could just make that determination if you really wanted to change the little section on 27 that got left out and was considered downtown. If you want to do an overlay, I'd probably recommend that. We haven't done those before, but that's a little easier than trying to go back and change our comprehensive plan and our future land use map to something different, because a lot of more notifications have to go out. But just in a nutshell, the zoning that you have now with the future land use, you can change it with an ordinance after you notify, of course, all the property owners.
I guess when you say overlay, I keep thinking about layering, that we keep layering more ordinances on these property owners. And when you look from Ventura to Alvarez, in my opinion, our biggest need is residential. And it could change that, those blocks by incorporating a downtown commercial business opportunity through those houses. I mean, I think it's something we have to look at. I think a workshop is probably the right thing to do, but I just can't, these layering of,
And we could talk more about that at the workshop, but I think that'd be a good opportunity. We have a very primitive mapping that shows what is in that 8-block area, what is conforming now and what is non-conforming, and then talk about what you'd want it to look like, because since the inception of the Nolan Plan back in '25, they anticipated this to be a downtown area. They even encouraged, I found some writings that showed where the Clewiston Development Group predates the city of Clewiston. Actually, we're moving folks off, commercial properties off Francisco to this downtown area that we've kind of laid out now. So 100 years later, we're getting to it. But I envision something a little more walkable, maybe more residential mixed with those uses that cater more to the pedestrian, the professional offices, the salons, the tax preparers, things that, coffee shops, some outdoor seating, with those residential uses, because there's a big demand for residential. We just don't want to see that area overwhelmed with residential, but also keep out the things that you may want on 27 are more auto-friendly, more someone that's motoring over there.
I think Ventura and WCO and are good commercial corridors. When we start seeping into neighborhoods, I think you really change the feel of a neighborhood. We've seen it in some of the streets that are already up to 27. So I think a workshop would be.
Would you guys, the 12th of May, workshop? I think we need to discuss a lot of things, as I mentioned earlier.
I can do that.
Oh, I know it. So on that 12th workshop, can we meet as a council and then afterwards, at the workshop, that's when you all gonna see the request of interest? You wanna do that at that workshop?
Sure.
Okay.
What time are you
Or-
thinking? What time are you thinking?
Can we do 10 in the morning?
When I can.
Are you gonna be back, sir?
I can't do the 12th.
Yeah, I think the mayor is out.
I mean, could we do it on a different, other than a Monday, could we do it like maybe that
Well,
Wednesday,
look
the
at that
14th?
week. Look at that week and see when you're
Okay, the
available.
14th.
The 14th is coffee with the mayor from 9 to 11. If you all
Could we
Come
just,
in after that?
wanna do after lunch, that,
that would work.
Yeah.
okay, at
14th?
11:30?
Can we do like a working lunch or something?
Yes, ma'am, we can do a working lunch.
Just throw that in there.
I'll bring some of the materials for the current zoning that we have and some of those maps that we've
What
kind of
time was that,
preliminary draw,
Keisha?
give you an
It's
idea.
the 14th at 11:30, May 14th, 11:30.
So what time?
11:30.
11:30.
I would not be available May 14th, 11:30. That would be, I could potentially attend electronically.
Yeah, you want us to Zoom you
I
in?
could be a couple minutes late. I've got a existing 10 a.m. that day.
But somebody from the firm from Davis, would they be able to attend
Yeah.
as well?
I'd have to check their
The
schedule,
RF
but likely,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
So do you want us to give you a team meeting and have you Zoom in? We can do that.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
Oh.
fine too. I
Okay.
don't know that we'll have it really, we might have some legal questions,
Questions?
but I don't know if we're gonna have any
Okay.
serious legal
But
questions.
you're saying the RFIs for that day as well, right? For us
That
to.
we can,
Okay,
mhm.
all right. So that's what I was thinking, if they're RFI for them.
Oh, yeah, if they
Okay.
So
want to
if it starts at 11:30 and we talk about the comprehensive plan first, then we can just tell the people to come in at 1.
Okay.
And then that we can do the You all
For
can do
that day?
Yes,
Just to
ma'am.
block that day, okay,
Mhm.
that works,
Okay.
the 14th.
Okay, 11:30, 14th, all right.
So from, like 11:30 till quarter till, we can, 11:30 till quarter, 12:15 or something. You could talk about the comprehensive, then we can have the, you can be eating while you talking. We won't live stream it. And then, at 1:00, we can do the attorneys.
Okay.
It'll be recorded, but it won't be live streamed.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Dylan?
Yeah, so, and again, perhaps the answer to this is to add it to the already planned workshop, but I wanted to bring up again the recent RV storage ordinance that was passed. There were several comments that there was some dissatisfaction with that ordinance. I wanted to open it up for discussion, hear what changes were desired, and make sure that we bring back something that everyone can be happy with moving forward. And maybe if it's getting late and we want to add that onto the workshop, maybe that's the answer to the question.
I would love to have that come back at the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll add it on.
So
Might
Dylan,
need
you
an
gonna get
afternoon
me
snack too after that lunch.
Thank you for that reminder.
everything that's for that workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. And then last but not least, I promise I'm done after this. The city recently had one of its code enforcement orders appealed. We were able to reach out to the individuals in the case, the plaintiffs, and resolve the situation. And it's has been dismissed as of late last week. It doesn't require any further action or attention. We're going to work to recite the cases and get them handled, but just wanted to make sure it was addressed.
All right, good. Okay, commission comments, Commissioner Edmonds?
I'm excited about that workshop. I do have some things that I would like to talk about at the workshop. So I'll submit that to Danny. And I think we do need the downtown corridor to be in place and set, so we can set something, even though, we need housing and things like that. Yes, we're working on that, but we need to have a decent place for people to want to move here and have a place to work, live, and play. We've got to have restaurants and things like that. So we need to figure out what that corridor will be.
Yeah, we'll definitely hit that on the workshop. Is that all you got, Barbara?
That's what I got.
Okay, thank you. Molly? Commissioner Carter?
Just that I've heard a lot of compliments, I heard a lot of compliments about the Easter event in the park, and a lot of families were, I saw a lot of folks there, and it was, it's always a great and to celebrate, and I think that, every year it gets better, so I think that for families, it's so important. It really is. And I saw that we had more events on a monthly basis, so I think that that's good for families together and have activities. So, yeah, I think it was good to celebrate Easter this weekend. And the ball fields, I've been out to several games, and so it's been nice to see the families out there enjoying it. I think there's only 2 more weeks of season, but it's been fun to go out there and see all the families out there enjoying the facilities.
Fields look good.
And I look forward to the workshop.
All right, Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, the Park and Recs are doing a good job. All the baseball fields look great. I'm pumped with what that looks like. Don't forget, we got 3v3 Live coming in. Tell your friends, family. I'm really pumped about that. I think that's going to be really good for us. That's going to get a lot of publicity here, especially being centrally located. I think we're going to bring in some more big consumers when it comes to playing sporting events here, which would be a good boost on our hotel and restaurant. So I'm pumped about that. 3v3 Live. Clay Perkins would be the. Yeah, this workshop, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed, I think, especially about the Ventura project. I wouldn't say I'm anxious about getting it kicked off, but man, it'd be nice to have something set in stone where we can say, okay, look, on this date, I'm ready to go, as well as the Francisco project. I'm anxious to see some plans on that as well. Other than that, I'm pretty kosher with what's going on.
Okay, Commissioner Hoslow?
I don't have a whole lot to add, Mayor Pittman. We do have the South Florida Ag Foundation. You all have, let us know that you would be attending. We're bringing in, I think it's about 14 or 15 congressional staffers starting tomorrow. So they'll be in the Glades for 3 days and Clewiston for 2. So we look forward to hosting them and just teaching them a lot about the city of Clewiston and how, how we operate and whatnot. But what's in it for the city is relationships being built with these federal staffers. So when we go in for appropriations and things like that, we have nice relationships that we can fall back on. So I am glad that my fellow commissioners will be attending.
We will be there.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple of things. I want to just echo the Easter egg hunt. It went really well. I know there was concern from some parents that we were going to be hunting eggs in 3 different locations, and they had 3 kids, and but it worked out great. After it was all over, there was actually compliments. They were glad that you guys did it that way, so awesome. We had a really good sunrise service the Ministerial Association put on. I don't know if it was well advertised, so I've talked to those guys, and they will definitely do a better job next year of advertising. Pastor Escorcia, who was here, it was held at his church. I know that's really not sunrise when you're inside, but yeah, it was attended by several churches, so that was a good day. And I have a couple of dates that the guys asked me to pass on, which is the National Day of Prayer, which this year is May 1st. It's always the first Thursday in May. And I think this year, instead of being at Civic Park, because of the semi-truck noise and all that, it's going to be moved to Sugar Festival Park, which is where the tent city was over there. And it's just because of noise. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, they'll move it back.
Who would be the contact for that?
Chuck Pelham at New Harvest Church.
Jimmy, what about the proclamation? Normally we do a proclamation for that event.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't received one, have we?
Ma'am, I haven't received anything.
Yeah, you might
Like
have to
one?
look it up yourself.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
So we can adopt it at the May meeting, after we read it May 1st.
Retro.
And let's see, there was another. Oh, I've had a couple people ask about 100-year commemorative celebration of some sort. I'm not saying we're gonna plan it this second, but maybe you guys can you probably already have, but as soon as you have something put together, just let us know. We definitely wanna,
Well,
4th of July, I don't know, maybe you're thinking.
Well, to piggyback on that, 2 things. First thing I want to say before I go on that is that we're doing some internal changes when it comes to payroll and things like that. But I wanted you all to be aware it is a turning curve. So with the turning curve, we have had, some hiccups along the way, but it's getting better. But I wanted you all to know that that is some changes that we're having, and we are on top of it. And prayerfully by the second, our first check in May, we should really have a so I wanted you all to put that out there, and just in case you hear things in the rumor mill.
Grumblings.
Yeah, grumblings, that is being taken care of. As far as the centennial celebration, we have talked about it. We just gotta get it, together in concrete, but it was suggested that it be closer to October. But again, when people have gone for the summer, kind of come back, school has kind of gotten in.
And it's so hot in July.
And kind of cool down, so we are working on that.
Oh, I figured you were, but just wanted to,
I think that's a great idea later in the year.
if we maybe, I remember the county put a banner up, like a month or two before.
Oh, I'm gonna go all out,
So
don't worry
we
about
can
it.
throw one up there on the, well, yeah, we gotta outdo the county, of course.
There you
Don't
go.
worry about it. Just don't complain about the invoices.
As long as it's budgeted.
Send it to Randy.
And the last thing is, I have a picture here of a new paint color of a house.
Yep.
Is it
So I
lime
know
green?
that y'all
Another
probably
one down
seen
the
that.
street from my house. So I got two purples and a green now. So I mean, I'm batting 1,000 over there.
So
in
I'm
my
saying
neighborhood.
that because
Oh, we have a cow fence too.
it'd be
down the
another
road.
item to the
Close
workshop
to
is
us.
I think we do.
We're
Need to
gonna
come
have
up with
to-
an ordinance.
have to do
agree.
something.
Oh, I do have one more
You
thing.
know, I'm sorry. It was green already. In his defense, it just was not that color green.
Are you done, Mayor? You
Pardon me?
done?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to introduce somebody. We got a new teammate. I think we grabbed a good one. Mr. George Soto is our new Public Works Director or Director of Operations.
Very nice to join the team, and thank
Yep.
you, Danny, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Danny was a big part of me coming here, so you guys are familiar with me. I've been years now, working with you guys and with everybody in the city, so I'm looking forward to it.
Deal, man. Glad to have you.
Guy that's knows our system quite well. So he's hit the ground running. I get a lot of phone calls, even on the weekends. Doing a good job.
Hey,
I do want to say one thing, the facade application and guidelines have been updated. I just need to put it out, so it will be put out on the website on Wednesday. I just gotta tweak it a little bit, but it will be out on the website this Wednesday, so people can fill the application out. It is fillable, and turn it in to me. I'll have that date and that information, so it can go before the
That's
CRA
just
board.
that's for the CRA, right?
Right.
Because what you brought up, or what Jimmy brought up is not in the CRA.
No.
So,
on the paint, right.
Yeah.
Residents.
yeah, so that's
Now
another,
we can start in the CRA
yeah.
with an
So the
ordinance.
application will be live on Wednesday.
Great.
Okay,
Just gotta make some little changes.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
thank
people
everybody.
working for that thing now.
Yeah.
If no one has anything further, we are adjourned.